Dawn, we'd love to hear your question. Thanks so much for calling.
Hi there. You guys have been kind of hitting directly around my question with a lot of your conversation. And so I think it's just one more step beyond what you guys have been talking about. And that is, what kind of personality does it take to be a successful sex worker? I mean, how do you maintain like your own individual self while still giving so much of yourself to somebody else that you're not in a long-term committed relationship with? I mean, you don't have that regular give and take that you would have in a relationship over time. You have a really shortened timeline. So you have to maybe have, I don't know, some kind of internal framework that you adhere to. I mean, is that, can you maybe shed some light on that?
Mm-hmm. I absolutely agree. Knowing what your needs are and ensuring that they are met is essential to being able to provide for the needs of others. I view myself as being a caretaker of sorts, and I strongly believe that you can't tend to the needs of others if you haven't first taken care of yourself. So in terms of personality type, you have to be somebody that loves yourself, that is very in touch with yourself and your needs. If you feel like you need to take a day of rest and recover and address whatever it is you so need, you've got to be willing to take that step back and take that time that you're needed. It's not selfish, it's very much so self-care, which is essential to being a sex worker. Additionally, you have to be intuitive to a certain degree. Not everyone is good at verbalizing what their needs are. And so sometimes you'll have to rely on your intuition and get a sense of where somebody may be, and then be able to offer them several suggestions based off of that previous experience. However, you can't really even begin to think about, how do I take care of this other person, if you haven't first started to take care of yourself. In terms of long-term relationships and how that give and take contributes to needs, rather than being in a long-term relationship with somebody else, I view it as being in a long-term relationship with myself. I take care of my needs. I take care of my wants. I take care of my desires. And if those needs aren't getting met by me, I'm going to have a problem professionally. And so I'm very much so in touch with what I need on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis. And I'm not afraid to literally cancel an entire calendar's worth of stuff if I need a minute. I tend to be a little bit of an introvert, but that's not to say that it's a limiting factor to being a sex worker. It just means I might need a little bit more alone time than someone who is like a diehard extrovert. I do believe that any personality type could be a successful sex worker, so long as there's that introspection and moment to take a look at one's own needs are and address them.
That is really interesting. I never thought of it from that perspective. I have several friends who, right out of high school or early in college, they would go and dance at a strip club or something. And even that seemed to be very, very hard on them emotionally. Like they kind of lost the sense of self that they had.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on that?
I believe that comes from not knowing oneself in the first place and trying to discover oneself through the job. You have to have a very good sense of who you are before you come into that sexual space and start sharing with others, especially fresh out of high school. They probably haven't had an opportunity to develop that confidence of sexual self. I'm 30 years old and I've been doing this for 5 years now. And before that, I was traveling around and teaching another 10 odd years before that. So, I mean, it definitely takes time to develop that sense of self. I've long believed that the age for sex work should probably start at 21. Right now in Nevada, the age to become a legal sex worker is 18. Some counties it is 21, but in other counties it is 18. And I kind of think it should be set to 21. It just allows a little bit more time for that sexual maturity to finish happening, that sexual discovery. So this way, when somebody enters that space, they're doing so with a better sense of who they are, what their needs are going to be emotionally, how they can fulfill those needs before they can start exploring, how do I share this with others people? And keep in mind too, I also advocate for things like I don't think anybody should be going to war until they're 21 years of age. I don't think that anyone needs to be smoking cigarettes until they're 21 years of age. And that's just based off of when our brains are done developing, not an arbitrary number, just science.
Just cause.
Just science, you know. It seems like something we could base policy on. I don't know. We should try it.
I don't know. It's a number. I pulled, reached into a bowl, pulled one out.
Great questions, Dawn. I love that. And definitely that feels like it's kind of pulling together some different threads we've been bringing up over the course of the evening. So thank you for calling in.
Well, thank you so much.
You have a great night.
Bye-bye.